evening's board study session. I call this meeting to order at 7:35, I'm sorry, 5:35. Ms. Janoon, please take roll.
Mrs. Berry?
Here.
Ms. Elzayat is not here yet. Ms. Fawaz?
Here.
Mr. Garcia is not here. Myself. Ms. Kaminsky?
Here.
Mr. Saba?
Here.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Okay. Pledge allegiance, we'll wait till the regular meeting. And if we can start with Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you, Madam President, Board of Education. Hope you're all well. There are three things on this study session that I just want to give you an update to, that we're going to be bringing these three items to the next board study session for further conversation, as we'll have more information. We've just finished up some of our requests. So we're going to be reviewing some of our, our furniture needs and requests from all of our schools at the next study session. We'll have a breakdown for you so you're aware of where we're at, what our plans are. Also at the next study session, I would like to discuss with you the Crestwood 2030 Committee. This was something that I wanted to do, and then the pandemic hit and we couldn't do it. And I want to discuss with the board how I'd like to put this committee together, because this committee is going to include of course, board members, but many community members. This is a community project, our local businesses, so on and so forth, and our members of the Crestwood Schools community. And I'd also, on the next board meeting, would like to discuss our mission and vision statement. Another thing that happened pre-COVID was we were discussing how we want to update our mission and vision. And we did it somewhat differently this year because of COVID, where we got feedback from community and from staff on different mission and vision statements. We've narrowed that down based on a community, based on staff vote. Now we have a community vote and a student vote. And then the goal is to bring those to the board for review to discuss and look at the top three in votes, and then work with the board in the study session to identify what we'd like our mission and vision statement to be as we move forward. And then this mission and vision statement will go to vote, not at the next board meeting, but then the board meeting following. So we're starting to pick up again where we left off pre-COVID. And hopefully the goal is, with this Crestwood 2030 Committee, is to start identifying what we really want to look like. Well, when I first came in, what we want to look like in 10 years, but now what do we want to look like in 8 years? You know, post-pandemic and all of that. So that is my quick update on those three areas. And then there's another item, my apologies, at the next study session, I also would like to discuss with the board, looking at possible bid for facilities upgrade in reference to performing arts, athletics, and storage. And when I say bid, I apologize, I should have been more specific, an architectural bid, you know, just to see, to get a firm to come out to do like what we did with our 4 elementary schools, what we're doing currently with Cherry Hill, and our possible partnership with Berwyn, to get a firm to come out to evaluate our entire district, look at our necessities, look at where we are, and identify where are the areas that we need to improve when it comes to our performing arts, our athletics, as well as our storage. So that's going to be a fourth item that I'd like to bring to the next study session. But I wanted to prepare you for that so you knew what was coming, and if there's anything you wanted to share with me from now to then, we can bring it to the table.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr. Zabel.
Dr. Masalam, how many people are you, how many members of the community, aside from board and faculty, do you think you want on this 2030 committee?
So I'm hoping to have anywhere between 30 and 50 people on this committee.
Wow.
I have a list of local businesses, local donors, local members of the community who are actively involved in Crestwood. My goal is at the study session to share those names with you, and then you can help me identify others that I may not have. And then we want to send out a formal invitation to a light refreshment type of event at one of our local businesses, wherein I want to present, and I'll have that presentation prepared for you the next study session, where we want to present to this community what our vision is, where we're going, and then get input from these individuals as well. And then this could also be the first step to developing our Crestwood Education Foundation, because that's gonna be one of the things that we wanna discuss with this committee. But I don't wanna jump into all of that without getting committee feedback, letting the community hear what our vision and mission is, letting the community see how they can be part of it. Because as we move forward and hopefully now that, you know, slowly COVID will be in our rearview mirrors, hopefully, you know, we'll be able to start getting this going. Because I would love to see us have things in motion come, you know, January of 2022.
Any other questions? Yes, go ahead.
Would there be any criteria for these members, or just the fact that they're residents within the city or the district?
They don't even need to be residents within Dearborn Heights. As long as they're active supporters of the Crestwood schools, we have many people who don't live in the city of Dearborn Heights, but they're actively involved in our schools as volunteers or as donors. You know, so basically the only criteria is that they're here to help the kids. I mean, that's all we're looking for. Now, there's no way to judge that, but, you know, my experience has been when it comes to school functions and you know, the people that really want to be there for the kids are the ones that end up showing up.
Mr. Nguyen?
So you're saying people on the committee don't have to live in the city, even if they're, just because they're donors?
So the first meeting is to present to everyone, and this committee, it's not a decision-making committee. It's more of a brainstorm. It's more of, give us your ideas. Because we have people, like I said, we do have people who do support our schools that don't live in our community, and some specific organizations. You know, so like, for example, when you think about the organizations that donate and give scholarships, like the Lebanese American Heritage Club, Access, Zaman, there's a lot of these organizations where their chairmen or members of their board don't live in our community, but they donate to our schools. And I feel that, you know, because they're donating and they're offering scholarships and they're there for us. So I'll give you an example. When we know there's a family in need, you know, we'll reach out to some of these organizations and they'll make sure that they're helping us find this family food, clothing, shelter. And they may not live in the city, but they're there supporting our kids. And I don't want to, you know, I don't want to dismiss their support for us.
Right, it could be like an alumni. We have a neighboring city that uses, the
Yes.
president of their education foundation lives in D7 district, so it's very common that happens. Mr. Sabal?
Yeah, I don't think there's a problem with that. You have business owners that don't live in the city either, so
Okay.
do we exclude them? No. Yeah,
No,
they have No, I'm
wasn't-
just saying
I was
in
it just
general.
depends on, I guess it depends on,
Anybody who has a
What are
vested
they-
interest in Crestwood schools, and you're talking about 30 people, you know, at the end of the day, you might want to pare that down a little bit, to be honest with you. That's a lot of opinions, which, just saying,
That's
you know.
okay, we're okay with opinions if they're going to make it
Yeah,
better
but you want to
for
move
our-
forward, 30 opinions, you
Right,
know,
but
yeah,
if
so,
they're
yeah.
going to be contributors,
Yeah.
we're okay with that.
And part of that too is as we roll that into our education foundation, we want, you know, 100, 200, 300 people part of that education fund, not on the board itself,
Right,
but that are regular donors.
right.
And my experience with donors is donors will always invest in an organization if they believe in its vision, if they believe in its mission, and they actually see their dollars at work. And it's just like with the 2015 bond. When you get money from the community, you gotta show them where is that money going.
Right.
yeah.
And so that it'll grow out of that. And then, again, this is something in turn where I want to get the community more involved in our
I
schools,
agree.
because there's a lot of great things happening in our schools, and the more people that are part of that conversation are more people that can, when they're sitting on the porch having a cup of coffee with someone, say, well, you know what? I was at that meeting. I actually know what's going on. Let me explain to you what's really happening.
Right.
You know, not what you're only reading on Facebook.
Mr. Nguyen?
So I guess
I didn't know.
business owners, I guess I see them as a little different, business owners in the city, just because they do have a vested interest in the city and the community. I'm not opposed to having people who are donors, and I guess depending on what type of donor, but regardless, I mean, I don't have a problem with having 30 people on the committee, I guess initially. I don't know if down the road you want to continue with that many people on, but I think in the beginning, I think being able to bounce ideas off of each other is beneficial. But as you start to get to where you hear, you kind of can start narrowing down what you want to see and how you want to see it, you know, unfold. But initially, I think the more the merrier. And then as you start, you know, again, moving forward, then you can narrow that down and you know, but again, I was just trying to understand like what type of donors and how and what. I think with 30 people, there's this, even though it's not a big city, there's a lot of donors just within the community. So I think that you can bring the people within the city and the community that do donate on a regular basis and do have children in the district and have a vested interest. And that's why I was thinking first and then.
Well, through the process, that process of 30-50 does narrow down, because not everybody has time to serve on a committee.
They on themselves will end up.
But at least with that, we're presenting it to a large group of people who are assets to our district. The beautiful thing about, well, one of the beautiful things about Crestwood is that it's a tight-knit community.
Right.
And there's a lot of people in this community who on a daily basis, when I see them, whatever you need, give me a call.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I can tell you stories. I'll tell you, I had one of our business owners who, when COVID first started, called me. What do you need? How much do you need? Why am I losing his name right now? From Greenland.
He's
Yeah.
amazing.
He's so generous.
From Greenland.
Right.
And in one of our conversations, I had said to him, I said, I said, you know what? We don't need that right now. We're good. But save it for somebody else that needs it. Because if we do need it, I will call you. And, he was so appreciative of that.
Yeah.
And when we did need something, we did call him, and he was there for us.
He
And
has
there's
a
so many
fellowship.
members in our community that are like that.
Yeah.
So I want to give them an opportunity I want to hear them. I want them to hear us. And we're in a stage right now as a community and as a district where that community tie is so crucial for our next couple of years because, of our needs and where we're at with infrastructure and all the different things happening. So I hear all of your points and they do all make sense.
Ms. Kaminsky?
I just want to applaud you for the efforts in making Crestwood more than just a school district, to make it part of the community and part of the business community and part of the city. I think that's a huge, huge thing, and it's happening faster than I ever thought it would.
Well, thank you for saying that. Sometimes I think it's going too slow.
No, well, you always think that, but you're making great strides, and I think it's awesome. And that's a great segue into my question to you about Berwyn.
Yes.
And where we are with the negotiations with the city and how we're doing.
So we're actually doing really good. City's been very, very supportive because we're still in I don't know if I would say exploration stage, but the fact finding. Thank you. I knew Penny had the right word. The fact finding. So Ms. Constant has been very supportive,
Okay,
which
good.
I appreciate. And the building department got us all of the CDs and prints they found them for us. They dug them up and found them. So now we have full prints of the
Good.
entire building. Our architects received that last week, I think Wednesday or Thursday. And I believe, have they gone on the roof or are they?
They were scheduled to go last Thursday.
Okay, so they either have gone or they're gonna be on the roof. That was the last thing they needed to survey, was the roof, to see how everything is up there. And so it's moving along.
Good.
It's moving along, and like we said with the city, there's no done deal. We're doing our due diligence to identify if this project is going to be beneficial for the district and the city. The city is looking at it in terms with us that, it could be a win-win situation. So, in short, there are no roadblocks.
Good.
And there has been a good partnership between us and the city and just in our fact finding. And once we have everything detailed, we'll come back to the board and sit with the city and have our further discussions to see, okay, what are next steps?
I think that's great, and I think it's great. I don't think, I know I haven't publicly thanked you for letting the city use our facilities while they're doing some renovations and everything, and I think that's what we need to see more of.
Thank you,
Thank you.
thank you.
Kudos. I agree. Anybody else?
So,
Mr. New?
I know we discussed, the consent agenda and the roll call, vote, and I know you said Linda was gonna call me, I don't know if we discussed that,
Yeah, so that was,
further.
yeah, we haven't, so
Okay.
that was put on the study, I jumped that one because I just
Okay.
wanted to briefly go over the other four, so my
Okay.
apologies.
No, it's okay, I just,
So if you'd like me just to briefly,
yeah, we
okay.
can go over that.
So one of the items on the study session was, I want to say, not the last board meeting, the board meeting prior, there was just conversation with all of the names that were being read off, and
It was the.
is there any way to shorten the consent agenda or to
Yeah.
do it different ways? So we looked into it, and what we did is we spoke with Gary, and in that conversation, I know we sent it to the board, that if we were to put all the votes, and again, we're good with either way, please know, we're just giving the board information that was requested. So one of the options is we, continue doing it the way we're doing it, which we're okay with too. Another option is you can put all of the items to be voted on the consent agenda, and then it would be one call, one roll call for everything, unless if there was an item that somebody wanted to discuss and pull, or if somebody wasn't gonna vote yes on an item, it could be pulled and voted on separately. And one of the things that Dr. Lazar and I spoke about, and she can probably explain it better than I, lately she's, well, not lately, all the time, she's a little bit more articulate than I. One of the things, and I know this was a question, I know Trustee Janoon had mentioned, had a question in an email that, I really like to hear the teachers' names and when they get selected. So, and the teachers like to hear that too, their families do. So what Linda looked into was if we still put it on the consent agenda, just as a whole one-time roll call, after that, she could go through and read everything as we always do, except the only difference is, which saves time, is she doesn't have to read it as a motion. It doesn't have to be read as a motion. She doesn't have to read it as a description. It doesn't have to be reread as a second and then a vote. So it's 2 less readings. But we could still, after the consent agenda is voted on, we can still go back and read them all, but it's only read one time instead of it going back and forth for a vote. So we just wanted, it was information that was requested by the board. Our team, we're good either way. We can keep things the way they are, we can change them. So that's what we wanted to bring to the study session, just so that you had the information in front of you before a decision was made.
Madam President?
Yes, Ms. Elzayat.
So I just wanted to say that I've been on the board almost a year. I know you guys have been on the board for a lot longer. I think last time we had, how many items was it? 30-something?
It's like 4.
And I gotta tell you, I was amazed at how fast we got through those. And I thought we did a great job, and from what I've seen in the past 11 months, it doesn't seem like it was, I don't find it a problem, I guess. And the reason I wanted to say that first is because originally when I looked at it, I know that I was like, why don't we just approve these, whatever we're gonna approve, but it didn't seem to be a problem. I don't know how anybody else feels, but
If I can, I agree with Ms. Elzayat. I feel if people were able to be here, sometimes they like to get up, introduce themselves, introduce their families. I like that option. I like them to feel that we're excited about having them. So I agree, it did go by pretty quick. It's very rare that we have 34 hires.
Yeah, I think
This
so
is
too.
not something that happens
True.
often. So I don't feel like we should have to reinvent the wheel. I think if it's, somebody's proud moment, let's give them their proud moment. That's my take. Ms. Kaminsky?
I concur with both of my colleagues. That is what I was gonna say. It was unusual to have 20 people one meeting and I think 34 the next meeting. And, I mean, it's exciting that we had that many, but I certainly don't want to diminish how important. I think for the short, term at the beginning of the year when we have more hires, I think that out of respect to our hires, it's important to recognize them.
Ms. Stelzat?
Well, I just wanted to mention, just say that it wasn't only about the hires. I don't want anybody to think it was just like for new hires. I think the discussion was any one of the items that we vote on or discuss, like to have 40 items. So when I looked at it, I was actually taken aback. I'm like, well, that is a lot of items to go over, but I think that we did it very efficiently and very quickly, so.
Ms. Janone?
I think we all thought we were gonna be here, I'm not gonna lie, when I saw that agenda, I was like, we are not, and we did really well, and, I just feel like, I literally, the day before I sent you the email, I had literally just seen a new hire, and she was just like, had just said to me, it was so exciting to hear my name here, and I was like, oh, that's really nice, and then I got the update, and I was like, oh, okay, I kind of missed, yeah, so I just wanted to clarify that, but I agree, I think it's just, it's rare, and I know it was the last 2 meetings, but again, we're in such an odd,
Times,
it's just
yeah.
really an odd time, and, but I'm okay with it staying the way it is, and I think that there's always room for improvement, but I just didn't feel like this was something that I wanted to see change.
Mr. Sabah?
I can't believe what I'm hearing, but okay. The days you got 34 and 35, I think it's a good option. This ritualistic ideology of constantly keeping things the way they were because this is the way we've always done them, that's, honestly, it's like, we gotta move forward. There's people watching there's people watching the meetings, obviously, that,
They're also wanting to hear their name.
well, yeah, the 34 did, but the
Yeah.
other 3,000 may not, so I just think, when you have that many, it's okay to do it. If somebody
Yep.
requests that they want their name read when you interview them, then that's fine. It's just a time thing, I mean, you got people sitting at home that wanna watch these meetings, but they don't wanna watch them from 5:30 to 9 o'clock.
We only do these meetings twice a
I
month.
get it,
if
it's
that.
just a time
Ms.
thing,
Fawad?
it's a time thing.
Go ahead.
I know that was a long one, or a lot of people. If we did combine them like that, how long would we have? Is it up until actual vote time to maybe separate or isolate 1 or 2 out of the pack? And do we actually have to decide to do that going forward on all, or just have the flexibility that, when we have a few, we can do it this way, but when we have, like you guys did that day, 34 people, I mean, that is a lot, to have the flexibility to, at that time, combine them unless, we want to take somebody out and, not put them part of the group.
So if something's gonna be pulled for discussion, it would be at the time of the vote. So, Madam President would read the consent agenda, she would read the motion, somebody would second the motion, and then somebody would make a request to pull an item. That item would be pulled, and then Madam President would make a statement like, and I don't have it in front of me, but in terms of voting on the consent agenda with item 1A2 dash whatever, pulled for further discussion. Do I have a second? Somebody would second, and then you would vote on that. Then once you vote, you'd come back to the item that you pulled and have your discussion and hold a separate vote for that item. So it could be done at the meeting. The whole idea is that hopefully in our study sessions and prior to our study sessions, nothing's gonna come to vote that we haven't already discussed.
So with that being said, if we, which typically we do, discuss it beforehand, or in the study session, couldn't we at that point decide, okay, guys, we have 20 people today. We're in agreement of all 20 for this specific circumstance, because we have this many, let's lump them together, versus a different situation where we may only have 5.
So no, you can't, because then you're making decisions outside of the regular meeting minutes, because it's a study session. The only thing you can do during the study, so however you choose to vote, that can change. We have to update the agenda to have that language. So the problem is, so for example, we always get you the board agenda by Thursday, and we post it by Thursday. If we were going to change our wording and change the consent agenda so we wouldn't have to modify the agenda during the meeting, so let's say you said, you know what, let's put everything under the consent agenda for this next meeting. We would want to make that decision before Thursday, so we're not amending the agenda multiple times. So all it does is you just have to amend the agenda. But if there is an item that you want to be pulled, you can't pull that item until the regular board meeting session. Because you'll be making a board level decision that is a voting decision outside of the regular meeting minutes. Am I making
If they're
sense?
lumped together.
Yeah, yeah.
Any other questions? Rajat, did you have something to say?
I forgot, but I'm sure it was not.
And again, we are fine either way. We just wanted to bring this information because it was requested. And, you know, we're, whatever the board decides, we will follow suit.
Thank you. Okay, anything else? Dr. Masalam?
There's nothing else on my end other than we did request a closed session.
Closed session. But before we do that, I wanted to ask a question, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I know you had given us an update where we're gonna start seeing, building administrators presenting.
Yes.
When are we gonna start that?
Those are gonna start in October.
Perfect.
Mid to late October. Is it November or October? I have to look at my calendar because they're gonna be doing their presentations for just cabinet in October.
Okay.
And then once we clean up the school improvement presentations and we have everything aligned, then we're gonna be scheduling, building school improvement teams at every board meeting after that for about a 15-minute presentation on the school improvement plans. And it'll also give the board an opportunity to ask the school improvement teams questions.
Exciting.
So we will
Okay.
get those on the calendar very soon.
Good, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Okay. Closed session. I recommend, does somebody want to make the motion?
So moved.
Support.
Recommended action that the Crestwood Board of Education go into executive closed session for the purpose of compensation.
Support.
Put my glass.
Okay, we have a motion on the table from Ms. Elzayat, supported by Ms. Kaminsky, that the Crestwood Board of Education go into executive closed session for the purpose of compensation. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
It's at 6:02.
6:02.